If you've ever thought of flying, whether for business or leisure, then chances are you've heard of the Bermuda Triangle. This infamous region located in the western part of the North Atlantic Ocean is notorious for unexplained maritime incidents. It is an area where ships and planes mysteriously vanish, leaving behind no trace for investigators to work with. Over the years, there have been so many theories trying to explain what happens to vessels that enter the Bermuda Triangle, but none have been proven. In fact, even the existence of the Bermuda Triangle itself has been disputed. Nevertheless, stories of missing ships and planes continue to pour in, each one more intriguing than the last. So today, let's talk about one such incident. This is the story of Flight 307, which disappeared over the Bermuda Triangle. The year was 2002 and the US mainland was experiencing a period of unusually warm weather. A flight captain named Adrian Cole decided to take advantage of the weather and fly directly from New York City to Bermuda for some rest and relaxation. The Bermuda Triangle was right in his flight path, and while he had crossed the notorious area many times before, he would be crossing it directly for the very first time. Before takeoff, he checked the weather reports for the entire route and everything looked good. There wasn't a single sign of turbulence or any other problems. However, he did brief his co-pilot, Lucas, on the unpredictability of the waters. You see, ever since he started flying, Lucas had heard tales of the Bermuda Triangle from seasoned veterans. They spoke of ships suddenly breaking apart in perfectly calm seas, planes going missing without a trace, and equipment inexplicably failing, leading some aircraft into fatal accidents. Even though he never witnessed anything like that, Lucas couldn't help but feel a little apprehensive. But when Adrian assured him that the only dangers in the triangle were storms, and that the rest was just superstition, he calmed down a bit. As the two pilots got ready to take off, the plane's computer checked out fine and received clearance for takeoff. Moments later, the plane was soaring high above the clouds. At this point, Adrian decided to take a break and leave the flying to Lucas. As the plane approached the Bermuda Triangle, Lucas felt a surge of adrenaline. What if all those stories were true? What if this flight turned out to be his last? Despite his efforts to stay calm, his hands trembled slightly on the controls. As he watched the plane's instruments, his gaze fell on the compass, which suddenly started spinning wildly. Lucas quickly dismissed it as a glitch in the system, probably caused by the metal in the clouds. But as soon as he moved on, another warning lit up on the screen, followed by a loud clanging sound. The autopilot disconnected, the windshield wipers turned on automatically, and the air conditioning blasted on full speed. Suddenly, the skies around them darkened ominously. One moment everything had been sunny and clear, and the next, thick gray clouds blanketed the horizon. Before Lucas could even process what had happened, the windshield wipers moved across the glass, revealing an angry black sky above them. An ice-cold wind buffeted the plane, rattling its frame, but according to the weather radar, there was no storm anywhere nearby. Confused and shaken, Lucas reached for the radio to check in with air traffic control, but static filled his headset. The plane was enveloped by an eerie silence. Startled by the sudden change in weather, Lucas grabbed the controls, struggling to keep the plane steady. Then the whispers began. At first, they were faint and indistinct, like voices carried on a distant wind, but as they grew louder, forming coherent words, panic seized Lucas. Turn back. A woman's voice whispered urgently before it's too late. Another voice, raspy and chilling, added, "You cannot escape the triangle." Lucas's heart hammered against his ribs. Was this some kind of sick prank? But the terror in the voices left no room for doubt. They were real. And then came the most terrifying. "We are the lost souls of the Bermuda Triangle," they hissed, "and now it is your turn to join us." The temperature in the cockpit plummeted, sending shivers down Lucas's spine. He glanced at Adrian, whose face was ashen. Fear tightened his throat. Neither of them had ever experienced anything like this. Their instruments flickered erratically, showing nothing but wild swings and strange symbols. The plane lurched violently and Lucas struggled to keep it steady. Desperate to escape the whispers, he tried contacting air traffic control, but their calls were met with ominous silence. The storm outside the cockpit seemed to mirror the chaos within. Lightning cracked, illuminating the swirling clouds that now enveloped their plane. The wind screamed, shaking the aircraft as if trying to tear it apart. Through the rain-streaked windshield, Lucas saw a flash of white, not the white of clouds, but something solid, looming ever closer. Terror froze him. They were flying into a wall of solid white mist, and within seconds the wall closed in around them, enveloping their plane in a suffocating embrace. Then, as abruptly as it began, the storm ceased. The plane lurched again, throwing Lucas off balance. He looked up to see the wall of mist disappearing before their eyes, revealing a sky as clear and cloudless as before. Lucas felt a mixture of relief and disbelief. Had it all been a hallucination? He exchanged a stunned look with Adrian. Neither of them had ever experienced anything like it. With the danger seemingly over, Adrian calmly took over the controls. The instruments were still acting erratically and the radio was dead, but he was relieved to see that the storm had passed. As they continued their journey, a sense of foreboding hung in the air. The tranquil blue of the ocean around them offered little comfort, for they knew they were surrounded by a watery abyss that had swallowed countless vessels whole. Then the whispers came again. This time they were closer, more insistent. "Beware," they hissed, "for the triangle claims all who enter." Adrian's hand tightened on the controls. The eeriness of the situation was undeniable. Were they truly trapped in a nightmare from which there was no awakening? Or were they merely victims of a cruel trick of nature? The Bermuda Triangle had claimed many, and it seemed determined to add Flight 307 to its tally. As hours passed, the mystery deepened. Other planes flew overhead, oblivious to the danger lurking below. Adrian and Lucas were cut off from the world, their cries for help lost in the vast expanse of the sea. Just when hope seemed to flicker its final farewell, the engine sputtered, coughing as if in pain. Adrian fought to keep it alive, his hands working feverishly with the controls. But the engine gave a final shudder and died, plunging the plane into darkness. The last thing Adrian remembered was the cold grip of fear as their plane began its descent into the dark waters of the Bermuda Triangle. No one knows exactly what happened to Flight 307 after that. There are different theories, however. Some believe that the plane was caught in a massive wave and plunged into the ocean, while others think that it was sucked into a vortex created by a secret undersea facility. Whatever happened, the plane and its passengers vanished without a trace, becoming another unsolved mystery of the Bermuda Triangle. Did you find this story interesting? Tell us in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing stories. Next, watch the video on your screen. Also, check out the latest news on our website,